This is 10 Questions. I'm Andy Johnson. Thanks for joining us, as usual, here on WESN. People's Political Choice. That's a new political party or an organization trying to get our attention in Trinidad and Tobago. It is headed by a young lady named Cassandra George, and she says she has ambitions of being Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. She says change is here. She's agreed to speak with us on this edition of the program. Good to have you, ma'am. Good to see you.
Hi. Morning. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, let's look at, this is not a name that I was familiar with at all. I can't remember how I came across this flyer, and I looked at it and I see somebody saying, the PPC, People's Political Choice, and this is for people who will embrace it to say, I support Cassandra George as Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, and you say change is here. And like I said, I didn't know a thing about you, and I was trying to look some stuff up, and I put the name in, and one of the things the first thing that came out was the University of Dundee. That is you?
Yes, it is.
Okay, well, let's start with that. Dundee in Ireland. So let's talk about who is Cassandra George?
Well, Cassandra George is a single mother of 4 boys. Four boys, I'm unemployed. I'm a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago, and that's it,
Wow. I mean, what gave you the ambition or the idea of wanting to be a political leader and to stake a claim to be? So you have to win an election, you have to have a party that wins an election to be Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, and you set out to do that. Let's talk about that.
Well, I think that the first thing that triggered me to be a political leader was the death of my father, and that death kind of shook my core. And I started off with a woman scorned. I was angry, very angry. And first I wanted to start off with a radio program. And I remember I was traveling with a taxi, and I was telling the driver, how hurt I was, and that, I wanted to start a radio program. And he told me, he said, well, the way how the system is, that wouldn't work. He said, they will try to buy you, they will try to do you all kind of thing.
Who's it the?
Well, the system, the government, the people on top. And from there I said, you know what? I am going to chop their roots. I am going to start a political party. And because at that moment I realized that as citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, after coming out of slavery and indentureship, the only freedom we had was to choose a leader to represent us. That is the only freedom they give us, to choose a leader to represent us. They say, okay, it's 1.5 million of you all cannot come collectively, but you all could choose individuals to represent you all.
Yeah, so, well, we didn't start off with 1.5. We got to that point pretty recently in the country's development. Yeah, but however, how much the number was at the time? Yes. Talking about independence and so on.
Yes.
1963. Yeah.
So the idea of the political party was formed. I decided to name it People Political Choice. Whereby you're giving people a choice to choose. The first time we could choose, because if we don't choose, we'll be in a difficult situation, a very difficult situation, and that's how the political party started.
Outside of this flyer, like I was saying, I can't remember where I picked it up, how it ended up in front of me, but outside of this, there's nothing one knows about the People's Political Choice. There's nothing one knows sort of vicariously about Cassandra George.
2020, I launched in Trinidad and I launched in Tobago. The media.
2020?
2020.
Yeah,
the party was registered. The media job is that when a party is registered, to ensure that they examine every individual to know the type of person this individual is, because this individual is looking to seek leadership of the country. If the media and the heads choose not to do that, that is not my problem, because I made the front page in the Newsday. I also...
When was that?
That was I think it's the 5th or the 6th of January 2020, right? And so they know me. They know that where I worked, I said it. They know who I am, and they choose not to do anything about it, because at the end of the day, we are not putting citizens and country first. We are putting individuals and self first, but we don't understand that we are seeking to represent a nation. So the fact that you knew nothing about me, I was Facebook, social media, I am in the communities. At the end of the day, the job, and coming back to that, I wrote the EBC and I said, you know what? We're talking about free and fair elections. But when you look at it, we cannot have free and fair elections if persons who coming forward to say they want to represent the country, we are not given a platform to speak. Because in Trinidad and Tobago right now, it have a lot of noise and a lot of distraction. And unfortunately, people don't listen. So then how are you going to get the majority of people to listen? Because choosing a leader is so important, because you remember we have to represent the country on a global market. So we want the best. So
So you say there was a story about you and the organization in the Newsday, you said?
Yes, in 2020.
In 2020. And what happened between then and now then?
Well, I invited the media to the launch in Tobago and they never came. And I have been campaigning, and I guess that I am doing a good job because you got a flyer, right? And it's hard work, and it's like, a one-man army with God, but one thing I like about politics is that it teaches you leadership skills. It teaches you how to stand up on your own, it teaches you how to because as an African woman, it's very challenging. You get no support and no help. But at the end of the day, because of love for country, you have to stand up and you have to fight.
You have supporters? I mean, like, who are some of the people? You have a team with you, behind you? I
have a lot of supporters, but unfortunately, I don't have anybody in executive positions, I have people who I could call on if I need something, they will help. But to say supporters like a crowd, I don't have a crowd.
Yeah, but I mean, what about the nucleus? Like somebody, so you are the political leader of this organization. You have a team, somebody's the secretary, somebody's...
I just do everything. Yeah. You understand? From the website to the flyers to... I just do everything.
And that is because you say you're on Facebook and so on, you're on social media in a big way. But people aren't attracted to the organization. And what is your message? How you try to reach people to suggest this is an alternative? Because that's one of the laments you hear from people across the board in Trinidad and Tobago. We want alternatives to who we have and what we have, but that those alternatives seem to be sort of very elusive over the decades.
But me as a building block. You remember, as the leader, I have to find a way, right? And it's only now, well, we have the week of September, we want to go into Tobago, and we want to campaign, and we want to start in the communities. But it's a lot of willpower to get there, So right now the party is going well. It is building a good momentum, And it's only God knows where we'll end up.
Who are some of the people with you, behind you, who you can...
Well, it's people on the ground. You understand? I could say Peter, I could say Emmanuel. It have a lot of people on the ground. People like, you know, normal people who will support. You know, sometimes they may not be able to be there with me physically, but they will be there spiritually. They will help financially. They will help emotionally. But it's people on the ground.
Yeah, you said somebody named Peter. Is that a...
Yeah, well, it's just a normal person, you know. Howie does help, you know.
Howie?
Yeah, he started to do lives with me, you know. And I have a lot of people.
The man known as Howie T?
No.
Okay.
It's just Howie, a normal. Yeah. But, you know, they help, you know, and I have a lot of support, you know. Sometimes, if, you know, I need something, you know, I have to organize for Tobago, you know, I'll tell people, you know, I go into Tobago, you know, they assist, and they will come out and assist, you know. They might, if I say, well, I want a boat ticket, buy for somebody, they will buy it, you know. Or if I say I want a bag of rice, they will buy a bag. Anything I ask for, they get it.
So you have a group of people who sort of see what you want to do and are behind you?
Well, yes, the public is behind me. The John public is behind me, you know.
Actually, you think that, and I'm thinking about how, like I said,
how John public could be behind me.
Yeah,
no, well, you know, if well, I just be normally based in Europe. You know, in front of the mall. Sometimes I go, like when I finish here, I might go in front of the mall, I might sit down, you know, I might talk to people, people give me their support, you know. Sometimes if I want to ask for something, and John Public just give me their support.
You satisfied with the kind of support you have, such that you have decided to launch this organization and seek to be the government of Trinidad and Tobago and seek to become Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago?
Well, if you have lemons, you have to make lemonade. I can't make strawberry smoothie. I have to make lemonade. And right now, things are going as planned, you know. I'm a politician by default. You know, my job is not really to force for power. If God grant power, well, I can run the country, right? It started off with me with a woman's scorn, and now it ended up with me understanding that I am a leader, because to stand up from 2020 to now and don't have the kind of help that I need to function and still functioning, that's applaudable.
What is, take us back to where you talked earlier about a woman's scorn. What do you mean by that?
Well, they gave me a dead. When they give you a dead, or you know, you're hurt, you will react, right? And
what do you mean when you say they gave you a dead?
Well, my father died, you know, so at the end of the day, you know, that brought about a hurt, you know, and maybe God, he used that hurt to push me into this direction, because, you know, I left my job. And in leaving my job, I just left my job, you know, and I started the politics. You know, I never knew where the politics will end up. And then along the way, I was to polish myself, because, you know, I had faults, and I was to clean up my act. And I realized that I'm a leader. I love my country, and I could fix the issues that we have today, you know, but our symbol is 4R, rethink, revisit, restructure, and rebuild. Right now we're on rethink. We're saying, you know, to change your mindset, start to love yourself, start to appreciate you, you know, because if it is you don't love and appreciate you, how could you want better for yourself?
Okay, let's go back over it. Rethink, rebuild,
rethink, revisit, restructure, and rebuild. So from next month, we are going into the community, and we are going to start on revisit. So we're going to start to revisit why we are here, you know, and then we're going to restructure how are we going to restructure, and then we're going to rebuild.
You care to talk about, to name some of the people who are with you on your side on this mission?
Well, right now, presently, it's me alone, right?
No, but when you refer to we,
well, we is, as I said, I have followers, you
Yeah.
know, I have people, you know, who support me and people who stand with me, right? Especially my mother, you know, she finances most of the things I do, right? She's, you know, my major financiers, and then I have minor financiers, you know, people who will give me $20 or $50 or $100. You know, they are my minor finances, but I have major finance. She's my major financer. And you
your
know,
mother?
yes, you know, and I would like to thank God for her. I remember when, you know, I was doing my lunch and I was calculating how much money I need.
It would cost to do the loan.
Yes, and she said, how much money do you need? And I told her the amount, and she brought the money for me, and it's at that point I realized I was unemployed. I said, well, Sandra, what are you doing? You don't have no money. And then she said, how much money I need to go to Tobago? And you know, she gave me the money to go to Tobago. And you know, she sacrificed so much, and you know, she believed in me. You know, and she's the one who really pushes me. And she spoils me, you know, so I thank God for her.
Is she someone of means?
She's not someone of means, but she's someone of a good heart. And you see, when you have a good heart, God will bless you. You know, she always have this saying that, you know, all the wicked store up is for the righteous. You know, the righteous shall be as bold and brave as a lion. So, you know, you have to just go out there and do what you have to do. And, you know, because of her support, you know, I've been able to channel and push and stand up.
Tobago, you mentioned Tobago on a number of occasions. What is the special connection to Tobago?
Well, we are one country, it's Trinidad and Tobago, you know. You cannot leave out Tobago. It have no special connection. I think that as a leader in a country, you're supposed to be able to go anywhere. It have no special connection with Tobago. Tobago is just a country.
Well,
we are one country.
Part of the country. Yeah. I thought, you know, some people.
And you know, we just try to separate it and say, well, Trinidad and Tobago, but at the end of the day, it's a CARICOM, it's a EU. It's a United Nations. I don't know what happened. It's a CARICOM. I don't know what happened with two small countries that, you know, they're trying to divide and rule.
You mean Trinidad and
Tobago?
Yeah, we are one country. With
exactly. You know, so at the end of the day, there's nothing special about Tobago. Tobago is just as equal as Trinidad. And the thing about it is that it's part of the country. And September, you know, I planned September was to go to Tobago. And as I said once, and I'll say again, I don't know how, if September, I'll be able to go the first week, or I'll push it back a little bit. But we need to start, and we're going to start.
As of yesterday, that's next month.
Yes.
No, I know the point is that there are some people in Trinidad and Tobago who are citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, but for whom Tobago is their base, sort of. You know, that's in many cases that's where they come from, and they have a Tobago sentiment about how to develop Trinidad and Tobago. There are some people who I mean, the late great Anna Robinson was a Trinidad and Tobago citizen for whom Tobago meant, you know, almost everything about how he thought the country should be developed. There are people like that. That's why you have the Tobago House of Assembly, and that's why you have these campaigns for people who want greater emphasis on Tobago's development. There are people who the whole issue about autonomy for Tobago. There are people who care more about that than about Trinidad and Tobago. You know.
That is because we allow it.
You allow it?
Yeah, we allow the division, you know. If you look at even slavery, even indentureship, when they can't divide you in terms of ethnicity, they will come with religion, they will come with caste, they will come with class.
You don't think that is us in any country? I lived in Canada for a number of years, and you have the francophone Canadian in Montreal and Quebec and other parts of Canada who have a different kind of approach to the Canada concept than if you're from British Columbia or if you're from Ontario. Some people see things in that way. So in Trinidad and Tobago, I'm from a place called Palo Seco, Los Bajo, and some of us see our being from beginning with where we come from, where we were born in Trinidad, and you come to town or you live elsewhere in the country, but same thing if you're from Guayguayari, if you're from Mayaro, we have a sentiment from, where, as my grandparents used to say, where your navel string was buried. There is some value in that, in whole clinging to what in terms of that's where your roots are and so on.
Yeah, there's always value. But you also have to remember that when it comes to nation building and when it comes to us as a people and a society, we have to put aside certain things. Yes, my neighbor string may be burying love until which it is, but at the end of the day, you have to put away certain aspect of what you was taught in order to put country first, right? Yes, it will have African, Indian, Chinese, Syrian, but at the end of the day, when the national anthem is played, you have to stand up and you have to play homage. So at the end of the day, if it is you're born Tobago or you're born Trinidad, it has no speciality. The thing about it is we are Trinbagonians. And until we start to understand that we cannot grow as a nation and we cannot build as a society.
Yeah. And so there's a way in which you put that aspect of who we are over and above where you come from.
Yes, because, we will talk about race. I'm an African. I'm proud to say I'm an African woman. But at the end of the day, politics is the process where you choose one leader, the best leader, so that all the races could fit under one umbrella.
Yeah, but most countries, most civilizations, as we understand them, in today's world, there is that in the mix of who we are. If Australia is what they call an island continent. You have people from different parts, of Australia who think the way they do if you're from Perth or if you're from, and it's the same within Africa, divided up as it has been by colonialism and so on. But you have differences, one group from the other. In Nigeria, you have sort of internecine warfare among different groups of Nigerians. It is probably something that humanity we can't escape. We can't get out of that too much. Anywhere you look, there are issues among who we are, who we say we are. How do you think that it is important to sort of pole vault that on the basis of a national identification? We are Trinidad and Tobago citizens, and it shouldn't matter where we were born. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Johnson, we have to understand that if we look back at our history, the Caribbean Arawak are extinct. We understood that they fought each other. The Caribs ate the Arawaks, and at the end of the day,
like what somebody told us.
That was history.
You say that they're extinct, but I could tell you, I could take you to people in Arima right now whose reason for being, it's because their roots came from those first peoples, as they call them. And you go to Guayguayari, you go to that part of the country where you have other people whose roots came from somewhere who put that first, the accident of emerging as a Trinidad and Tobago comes second for some people.
That is, as you said, their roots, meaning that the blood kind of, is a long line.
And they consider themselves the first peoples, and they put that above everything else. And they want to be treated as that.
Okay, but at the end of the day, right? Lavantil is full up of Grenadians. Lavantil is full up of Grenadians, St. Vincentians, must be some Guyanese. You understand? If you're going central, it's East Indians, it's people from Grenada, from people. At the end of the day, right, we have to understand Tobago is Grenadians. You understand? We have to understand that if it is, we don't look at what happened to the Carib and the Iraq. Look at us. Look at the nation. Look at the state of our people. If you walk from here to the lamppost, you're breathless. You're just frustrated just sitting down. Look at us.
And these are things you hope to be able to address, or you...
Of course. Because they wouldn't vote for me unless I can address it. No, they wouldn't. So, you know, as I said, we on rethink, change our mindsets. You know, I am a leader, and the proof is in the pudding. People will see, you know, because I'll go into the communities, which we will be going. You know, it's a little challenging, but God is in control.
And that is what, because you said it a few times, that is sort of your sense of assuredness that God is in control.
Of course, I must declare I serve the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I serve the God who sent his only begotten Son to die on the cross for me, as he is who is funding me mainly. And by faith, as he who gave me the willpower and the direction to know that I could stand up.
What are some of the policy points you have about this organization called the People's Political Choice? What are some of the things that you have to address if you hope to get the attention of enough people that you can win an election and become Prime Minister and run the country? What do you think, Adi?
Well, what I would address, and definitely would address, is change. And change will definitely occur if I am the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago.
What does change mean?
Well, everybody have to, that is where rethink comes in. You know, because I don't want to list what I'm going to do before the time, because a lot of people don't listen, right? So, what change means to you? What do you want change? And that is where rethink comes in, so that when it is you see a rethink and you start to love yourself, you'll say, listen, I am in media. Or you know what? If I go to the hospital today, I want A, B, C, or D. If I tell you, if Mr. Johnson, God forbid, you go to the hospital today, you will get A, B, C, or D. You might say, I don't want that. I never tell you I want that, right? So before I start to say what, we will get into what changes when we start to rethink, revisit, restructure, and rebuild. And we'll start that, hopefully, next 2 weeks, where we will be in the community and where we will be saying who we are. The people of Trinidad and Tobago have to want change. I cannot do it by myself. Yeah. They have to want change. If they want change, we will stand as a nation together and achieve change.
What does it look like? What do you see change looking like? I mean, how
we
conduct ourselves, how we support, or how we choose to support one political movement over the other. What does change mean in terms of, you know, people talk about the haves and the have-nots, the direction in which the administration in office at the time wants to take the country, as opposed to what other people think. You know, some people's idea of what is development is not what is happening here. Other people's idea of what is development is contentious, depending on, you know, how you see our continuing progress.
That is the job of a leader. You see, once you have good leadership, leadership will guide the people. right? People that be all over the place. It's like you have a CEO of a company, and you know, the manager will go to the CEO and run A, B, C, D. Should this be done so, or should this be done E, F, G? And the leader now, that is my job, and that is why you see when we go into the community and we start to speak to the people, then we will understand the direction that is most viable. And it is a pity that, you know, the business community, the leaders, the PSs, the heads of departments, you know, everybody don't put a proper input, you know, and that is the importance of choosing a good leader. We wait until water more than flour, and then everybody come with the thing, you know, pan. We have pan and pan, and they know all the history about pan. Who know all the history about the market, but nothing is being done, and they want to burden you. But when we do and we think, we visit, we structure and we build, this is an opportunity for everybody to come together now and voice their concern.
We have to wrap it up, but what are your plans, let's say, in the immediate, let's say tomorrow, next week? You talked a couple of times about going into the community. You're talking about starting in Laventille, or when you say the community, you said you wanted to go to the Bago. And
I played by ear, meaning that I try not to stress out myself. So I played by ear, but we want to start to get into the communities. We want to start I am on radio every Wednesday, 9 o'clock on 104.7. We're hoping to be in Tobago in September, and you know, we're hoping to spread like COVID.
Wow, that's a hell of a comparison, because COVID took out a lot of people.
Well, that's how life is.
All right, well, best of luck, Ma'am Cassandra George, political leader of this organization called the People's Political Choice. Cassandra George, as Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, she says change is here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's 10 questions for this edition. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
WESN.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, The Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity, from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378, or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
Pastor J, I want to get a tattoo.
You really want
to me. Respond to me how you would respond to me.
The first question I'll ask is why?
Controversial taboo topics.
We get so consumed by church, we forget that we have to live the life of being a Christian outside of the Sunday.
Like you say,
services, yeah.
we think going to a service makes us a Christian.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. So here we are about to hear the second time Pastor J wanted to take a tattoo.
Would have been late last year and early this year.
Oh gosh.
Hope Unfiltered podcast with Pastor J and Ren.
Join me, Dr. Nalini Kokram, on What's Up Doc, where we discuss all your burning questions concerning health.
Trinidad and Tobago is among one of the highest risk group of patients that develop this form of genetic breast cancer.
What I'd like to take home from a short interview like this is screening. You must screen.
Because it's silent.
It's silent.
Yeah.
And because it's silent, you don't know it's there.
What's Up Doc, every Tuesday and Thursday on WESN, Content Capital.
We are WESN, the premier platform for Caribbean content. WESN, covering West, East, South, and North. WESN, we entertainment, sports, and news. WESN, available on Greendot 7, Amplia 118, Airlink 17, Bmobile 107, Digicel 21, ICNTT 105, and Flow 110. Connect with us at WESNCC or stream online at www.wesncc.com. WESN, your premier platform for Caribbean content.
Many here in Caracas are doing their best to return to their daily routines.
Toda la gente ha salido a la calle a trabajar porque hay que trabajar para comer, si no trabaja no come.
However, tensions are still running high as the election results dispute continues. Venezuela's National Electoral Council declared the incumbent Nicolás Maduro the winner on Sunday, but the opposition claims its tally of around 90% of the votes indicates its candidate Edmundo González secured more than twice the support of Maduro. In the wake of the election, several opposition figures have been detained, and on Thursday, opposition leader Maria Machado said she was in hiding and feared for her life. Machado, who was banned from running for president by institutions loyal to Maduro, has called for protests on Saturday to denounce his disputed re-election.
Este sábado, 3 de agosto, nos encontramos todos en familia, con nuestros hijos, nietos, abuelos, en todas las ciudades de Venezuela, a las 10 de la mañana, porque vamos a hacer valer la verdad y porque el mundo va a ver la fuerza y la determinación de una sociedad decidida a vivir en libertad.
Among the countries who have called for the Electoral Council to release the full results is the US, whose top diplomat Antony Blinken said that Edmundo González won the most votes. As a result of election-related criticism, Venezuela has expelled diplomats from several countries, including Argentina and Peru. Brazil is to take over administration of the Peruvian embassy and that of Argentina, where several Venezuelan opposition figures are currently under protection. Meanwhile, Maduro, who denounced the protests as an attempted coup, says his party is ready to present all vote tallies to Venezuela's top court.
And those are the top stories. Do stay with us here on France 24.
Revisited this week takes us to a road in Tripoli, in the north of Lebanon. A road that has seen extreme violence due largely to a war not even within Lebanon, but in neighbouring Syria. In fact, the road is even called Syria Street. On the left-hand side of the street, the Sunni district that sided with the opposition. On the right side, the Shia Alawite district aligned with the Syrian regime of President Bashar al-Assad. It is then an artery that separates two enemy neighbourhoods that became the front line of the Syria war, but in Lebanon. The Syrian civil war itself broke out in 2011, inspired by the Arab Spring uprisings. The confrontation, according to different estimates, seeing from 300 to 500,000 civilians killed. Today, it is at a stalemate, with much of the north of Syria still no longer controlled by the central government. The conflict there destabilised Lebanon, almost dragging it into a copycat war. Syria Street even becoming a battleground, with the young transformed into fanatics, ready to die for a cause that was not even their own. Nowadays, some semblance of calm has returned. The divided communities once again learning to live together. But it is a fragile peace, with the scars hard to heal. Well, Wissam Sharaf and Rami Aisha revisit Syria Street for France 24.
Bab el Tebanne. Ahmed Chaban works as a hairdresser here. For 5 years, until 2013, he fought with the hardline Sunni Islamists against Bashar al-Assad's regime.
Jabal Massen were our enemies. Their side wanted to kill all of us. We couldn't let them do that, so we fired back. 2,500 rounds. At that time, we were each other's main targets. We were in defense mode. Look, sometimes we were standing here. I was looking after customers, styling hair, and all of a sudden, bang, bang, gunfire. I sent the customer home, took my jacket, picked up my rifle. I opened up the door and off we went up there. It was war. That all happened regularly. We set up this secret door for protection.
This door, now blocked, led to the Piccadilly Cinema, one of the many cinemas in the city reduced to rubble. Through these holes, the fighters of Bab el Tebanne had a direct line of sight to their enemies.
This was once a cinema, but it became a war zone, one of the main battlegrounds for sniper fire. We're now approaching the spot that we used as a base to fire on Jabal Massen. To avoid going to their level on the street, where they could fire at us, we came here. We had the advantage of higher ground. As soon as they fired, we shot back.
On these walls, graffiti left by Ahmed's brothers in arms.
Half of them lost their lives. Others left the country. This one left, and most of these died. I lost many friends. What a pity they had to die so young. It makes me sad. I've buried my best friends. I've lost so much time. I was injured and I made my mother cry. What a shame.